Good evening, everyone. I'm Cornell Darden Jr. with the South Suburban Region Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm here today with Tom Mccullagh, who's running for state senate in the 49th District of Illinois, and Dave Krupa, political activist. I definitely wanted to ask you guys about diversity and inclusion today. As a president of a Black Chamber of Commerce, it's a very important topic to myself and my members. What do you guys feel about diversity and inclusion and the ways in which the state legislature could pass bills to improve diversity and inclusion in Illinois? Let's start with you, Tom.
I think that any kind of hiring practice or any kind of business policy that would exclude somebody of a different race or gender, doesn't matter, whatever person that they're trying to exclude from it, should absolutely be legal. It is federally protected, but making sure that we have tighter restrictions on that on the state level. I know we were talking earlier about Illinois making it a law that we would have an African American and a woman of color on every every corporate board, and I think that gains a lot of perspective for businesses. So when you have somebody that does not, or a corporate board that does not want to have more of a perspective from different cultures or different avenues, I don't think they should, they're not going to be that successful if they don't want to have as much inclusion as possible. That was the worst possible response ever. We should probably do that one again.
Well, no, I think that was a great response, Tom, because in our perspective, you're right. We're more successful when we're in diverse environments, and businesses who take that approach themselves, they shouldn't have to be forced to do it, and they become more successful. So I really like the answer. Dave, there was a law passed, that was proposed dealing with the motor fuel tax that made it so that every municipality in Illinois that gets more than $1 million in motor fuel taxes, that they will have to have a diversity plan in place for contracting. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Black Chamber, we take contracting very seriously because we're talking government contracts. When we are bidding for work and in certain types of environments, and a lot of times we don't see it as fair. So how do you feel about minority participation laws in contracting?
Well, I think it's important that, everybody has an equal opportunity to work, however it may be. Whoever offers the best work for the lowest price should get the job. The problem is in Chicago, it really doesn't work that way because, there's certain inroads that certain people take with politicians. Give me the bid, I'll give you a campaign donation, and not every trade organization or whatever is as savvy as somebody else's is, and it could negatively impact a lot of people. But one of the things that I really think is important and something that I would like to see put in a bill for any Illinois union is apprenticeships. They're unequal in the way that the population is. Well, let me say it like this: in the trades, when you get apprenticeships, they're overwhelmingly non-black. And so I've talked to people on the east side, on the south side, and they tell me, a lot of teachers were let go in those communities a couple of years ago when Ron was closing a lot of the schools down, and it brought a lot of, impoverishment to the area. And he said, and we can't go and get union jobs because the apprenticeships don't hire blacks. Mm-hmm. It's just overwhelmingly, they're like 7%, I think he said. Brian Mullins is somebody who I talked to. He's a political activist on the east side, and he said about 7% of union apprenticeships are given to black people. And I don't think that's proportional to the population of Chicago, and I don't think that's proportional to the amount of black people who are seeking those apprenticeships. So maybe if we passed a law somewhere in the state house or the state senate that would allow, or rather enforce, an equal amount of percentage based off the racial population in any given area to the apprenticeships as a very minimum. You know what I mean? I think it's upsetting to see that so many people are looking for jobs and they can't get them.
I'd like to add on to that too for your minimum participation. I know me and you have talked extensively about this in the past, about having used 3% of all contracts that are in the state or inside the county level going to minority. I think the biggest drawback we're seeing on people not participating at that level, because I think as we've discussed, the amount, the 3% is the minimum, but across the state it's such a low percentage right now because we haven't had the training or have the policies and procedures in place to train businesses who are attempting to bid on those contracts to get up to it. So I think at a state level, we can definitely put out like an online program or have an institutionalized program to train business owners who want to bid on state work, what the bid process is, what the average hourly rates are, and actually build all that up and help them grow their business as well as bidding on those jobs, but able to get the jobs. Because I think a lot of the downside to the minority participation was that nobody ever told anybody what the costs were, how much you're supposed to go, and they're going in on a blind bid system. But if you don't know what the average wage rate is for that, it's hard to bid on that. And so I think if we had at a legislative level a training process for companies who want to come in who are a minority owned or a veteran owned or a woman owned business that want to bid on those systems or bid on the contracts, to be trained and have a state level or even a federal level, hopefully in the future, a federal level or a state level program that can bring those companies up to the level where they can confidently bid and exceed on the bids and actually produce the workload that's required.
Well, I really like to thank you guys. I really like the opportunity to have you guys share your ideas on how we can improve our state. And I really like what we heard today.
Okay.
Thanks, Cornell.
Thank you.